All right, everyone, welcome to an all-new episode of Georgio Says. This is going to be an episode, obviously, we're going to talk about Real Housewives of Potomac, but I'm also going to fill you in on what happened on my Instagram yesterday while we were snowed in. So let's jump right on in.
We need to talk about this.
All right, everyone. Welcome to an all-new episode of Georgio Says, the podcast. It is Monday, January 26th. That means we are that much closer to my birthday. I am so, excited for another year to close. I always look at my birthday as, the actual new year for me, and being able to move into new, bigger things. And I have a lot of you to thank for that. I also want to quickly touch on, before we jump into Potomac, I just want to say, because obviously I am going to speak freely on this. Yesterday, as many of you may or may not know, there was another tragedy in Minnesota. And no, this is not a political channel. I am aware of that. That does not mean that what I'm about to say is based in politics, because in my mind, this is simply based in humanity. Yesterday, I shared a statement that Alex Preddy, who was killed by ICE agents on Saturday, unfortunately, the parents shared a statement about their son, who was an ICU VA nurse, and he was 37 years old, and he was gunned down in the middle of the street. I shared that on my Instagram stories because why wouldn't I? And the amount of people that came after me in the DMs about it was astonishing. And it also was maddening to see that people feel that they have some sort of power over what I can and cannot talk about on my page, on my channel. That's absolutely ridiculous. So I looked at the situation and I said, wow, okay, well then, if you guys just want me to stick to Housewives, then that's what I will do. So I went ahead and I made a post about a Real Housewife. I'm not going to go into the details about it on here. If you want to see that post, it's on my Instagram. And no, I will not be told what I can and cannot speak on. I don't care for politics in general. Otherwise, I would have a politics-based channel. Yes, they're important. Things right now are scary and crazy, but what happened in the street of Minnesota on Saturday was appalling. More appalling that people who did not watch the multiple videos are arguing with me. And a lot of you that decided to unfollow, that was the goal. Let me be crystal fucking clear. You do not get to tell me what I can and cannot talk about. So for anyone listening to this episode that feels some type of way about that, you may also stop listening to this podcast, stop watching my channel. You're not welcome. If you cannot be a humane person who has morals, who's not going to come into my comment section and say, that was sad, but the but is unnecessary. It's black and white for me. So if you don't agree with that, that is your problem, and you don't have to be here. You're not welcome here. Okay? And this is for the people that want to argue back and forth about why I did what I did. Okay? So there's that. So I'm going to make that abundantly clear. No one's going to tell me what I can talk about. If I want to talk about the grass in my fucking yard, then guess what? That's what I'm going to fucking talk about. So sorry to start the episode that way, but I needed to address it because the post was a carousel. I did not do a video about it. I shared something about a Real Housewife. So you want to go see it and want to unfollow, please do so. I don't want you there. I don't like that mindset. I don't interact with people that don't use discernment, logic, and go and do their own research. I don't need to be told by any media outlet what I need to believe. I can go look for myself and make my own decision, and that's what I did. So now that I've gotten that out of the way, let's move on to what we're here to discuss. Real Housewives of Potomac. I would say this is the season finale, but we are getting an additional episode next week that's all about Karen. She's doing a sit down with Andy. But this episode, my gosh, this Colorado trip just felt like it was never going to end. And I was on pins and needles the entire time because I just felt like you guys may not agree with me, and I am not trying to absolve Angel from all of the stuff surrounding this trip because, yes, I'm sure there are some things she could have done better, and I think she probably would agree with that at this point looking back. But what I will say the whole going to the fly fishing situation, first of all, I thought it was really odd that they would have the ladies go do an activity and then have them fly out that same day. Typically, what would happen, and I'm saying typically, I'm not saying all the time, but in most situations, the cast would have their last day wherever they are. They would do their rendezvous, their last activities, and then they would more than likely fly out that very next day, okay? So the fact that these ladies had their flights booked for the same day that they were supposed to go fly fishing already was kind of like a weird red flag for me. Now, we see the ladies driving to the location, and Angel says that this location is not typically the location she would go for a fly fishing excursion, but she was being mindful. I guess there's like rules around there's only a certain amount of people that should be in one body of water doing this type of activity. So I guess they sought after a different location that had more room. Also, she had people from Wonderland already there, and from one of my sources telling me those people stayed the night at the site to ensure that everything would be done correctly and everything would be ready for when the ladies did arrive because there was such a tight schedule. So let's backtrack a little bit because the ladies do end up getting into their Four Seasons, executive suite because, of course, Giselle had to take over the trip because she was being a complete asshole last week. But nonetheless, the ladies are there. We find out that they still have to go back to the house to pack up stuff, which is like an hour away from the Four Seasons. So by the time that was all said and done, I guess Angel, Tia, and Kay decided because it was so late, there was no point to drive all the way back down to the hotel. They would just go back to Angel's house, which is what they did. So Angel, Tia, and Kay were in one vehicle heading to the site where the ladies would meet them for fly fishing. And then obviously the other group went from the Four Seasons. Now, Angel's in her car, and it seems like we're watching her get lost. They can't seem to find this site that they're supposed to be at. And it dawned on me because in the car, Angel said something that kind of, I don't know, it made me think like production perhaps did kind of throw this whole trip under the fire so that they could continue this narrative that was happening, which was Angel was a bad host and this whole trip was terrible, yada, yada, yada. But Angel says, someone dropped me the pin for this location, but it seems like the pin is taking them somewhere where they're not supposed to be because they end up going down this one road that's clearly not the road to the fly fishing experience. So they have to back out. They end up going back down the hill, and they're still what seems to be an hour and a half away. At this point, the time is ticking. The ladies do have to fly out like that day, and it doesn't, in my mind, I'm like, well, what is even the point of this at this time? If you guys even get there, you're gonna fly fish for what, 15 minutes, and then have to chomp down the food really fast and then head back another hour and a half to then head to the airport. That just doesn't seem like a fun day. So it felt very like anxiety ridden, and I definitely was feeling anxious. I wasn't even there, but I was like, oh my gosh, this trip is just like not good at all. But I don't feel like it should be 100% Angel's fault because, like I said in a previous video, I was told production booked the house. yes, Angel may not have been the best host per se, but she was, in my opinion, up against a lot of negative women that were already looking to have a problem with her. So this whole fly fishing experience going left wasn't a big shock, but then watching the women at a gas station eating pizza and tacos and yelling at Angel when, to be honest, they knew what was up. But because, like I said, there's not a lot of content this season, it really shows just how desperate these ladies are to not, be honest and not pile on the same two women the entire season. Because, we went from piling on Stacy to then now we're piling on Angel, and her cast trip is clearly in the gutter. And Giselle's feeding off of this. And so is Ashley. Okay? I felt bad for her. I really did, because, a lot of this stuff is not all in the ladies' control. Production does have to, make sure the location is set. And if your producer is sending you the pin to this location, then obviously you're going to believe that they're sending you to the right place. Well, to me, it felt like she was set up. It felt like they gave her a pin to a location that was not near the fly fishing experience, so that it would cause more delays, so that these women could just go ahead, have their moment at the gas station, yelling and, going on and on about how terrible the trip was. And this just sealed the deal for why, Angel's this terrible host who doesn't want to get to know the women or play the game of Housewives on this particular franchise. And then when that's done, we can then open up another can of worms, because in the car, Stacy confronts Jazzy about exchanging numbers with Charisse. After what Charisse said about her, basically like trying to like cozy up to men and do all these things. So obviously Stacy had an issue with that, but that ultimately opened up another Pandora's box, because Jazzy then brought up the fact that Stacy did not support her through her wedding. And on top of it, and I do believe this, and I love Stacy, I love her, queen of QVC, but Stacy, girl, you absolutely were not probably going to go to Jazzy's wedding until you realized that they would film it for the show and Wendy and Ashley were going to be there. That's my thought on it. And I stand on that. And I think Jazzy was right for confronting Stacy on that. And I do think Stacy bringing up the Charisse thing was stupid and not a big deal. Because again, Jazzy doesn't know Charisse like that. And what was she supposed to do? Say, sorry, I can't take your number, Charisse, because I'm friends with Stacy? That's very high school. So I didn't really like that all too much. But when Wendy was confronting Stacy at the gas station about this, she was keeping it real with Stacy and being like, look, you can't just say that and then not be accountable for what you were doing and what your intentions were around Jazzy, because you're saying that you guys are friends, but now you're saying, all these things about her. But then Jazzy's quick to be like, well, you only started becoming my friend when this group was turning against you and you needed an ally. Again, I believe that. I do believe that. And so Stacy does not like this conversation. So she removes herself and basically takes her luggage and goes sits at another table at the gas station. Like, we spent like a majority of the episode at this gas station, which I will say that pizza did look damn good. It looked really good. So I will give them that. So, don't knock gas station food, because it sometimes can be really delicious. Any route, I'm Team Wendy here on this one. Wendy has had Stacy's back the entire season. Whenever the ladies tried to like come for Stacy, Wendy always had her back. So I didn't like that Stacy kind of turned on Wendy just simply because Wendy was expressing how she felt and was being honest with her, because that's what you're supposed to do when you're friends. You should be able to tell your friend, I don't agree with this, but it shouldn't cause like that much of an issue where like you have to question whether or not this friendship is even a friendship anymore. But then they work it out and then they head back into their vehicles and, trip's over. So they're heading back to the airport. The unfortunate part is Angel then had to call the chef and the coordinator at the fly fishing site to let them know that nobody was going to be showing up for the event today. And I really felt bad for them. I did, because, like I said, I was told by a very good source that those two were there. They slept there the night before so that they could get up early, be on site, get everything ready. So it was unfortunate that they wasted all of their time and effort and food. I hope that they at least took the food and you know, it didn't go to waste, because that was a shame, really. They spent a lot of time trying to clearly put this together for the ladies to, you know, partake in, and it didn't end up working out. I don't know. I'm not feeling the season. I've been very vocal about that. I think that it's clear that Giselle and Ashley, who thought they were going to lead the season without Karen, flopped miserably. You guys did not lead this group into a fantastic season. So there's that. But then also, we do finally get to see Karen Huger walking out of the jail center, which, thank God, because clearly we need Karen back. So for anyone that's questioning whether Karen was needed on the show, this season should be your evidence as to why she is absolutely needed. Because I feel if Karen had been on this season, a lot of the stuff with Stacey and, you know, Angel, specifically Angel, wouldn't have taken place. I think she would have had an ally in Karen, and maybe Stacey and Karen would have had their bits and bats, but I think they also would have aligned, because I don't think Karen is someone who likes to do the pile-on stuff, and that happened a lot this season. So I'm super ready for the reunion, because I hear that the reunion is a wake-up call specifically for Giselle, who I'm hearing allegedly did not even get her package. She didn't even get her own little segment. You know how they usually go around each of the housewives? They go through their little package for the season. Yeah, they didn't get to that. And Giselle's were basically tossed onto the floor and moved on from. She also didn't get first seat. So there's that. So yeah, I think we're starting to realize, okay, Giselle's not really giving us anything. She's showing up, collecting a check, and being mean-spirited to the new girl. As far as Giselle talking about how Angel talks about Bobby all the time, that seems like projection and jealousy, in my opinion, because why does it matter if someone's talking about their man? That's her husband, so of course she's going to talk about him. But also, Giselle, you don't have a man. And the man that you were dating, allegedly, like, nothing comes from these things, because no one ultimately wants to actually date you because you're on this show. So any type of man that you are going after is simply only using you for whatever they can get out of you. So I digress. We see Karen's moment leaving the jailhouse. She's getting into the SUV, and then she's on her way home. And, you know, also the title cards that they give all the ladies at the end of the season, you can totally tell which of the ladies the producers and editors like based on what is written about them. So I'll leave that there, because I thought those were interesting. And it just shows, based on those cards, there wasn't a lot of stuff going on. We obviously know that they, you know, picked up on Wendy and Eddie were arrested and all that stuff. Now, I was a bit confused, because I had thought that they had picked cameras back up. Excuse me. They picked cameras back up once Wendy and Eddie were arrested. But it doesn't seem like we're going to get the pickup footage from that. And the focus will be on Karen, which, fine, maybe it's better that way. However, we do know next week, because we saw the preview, that I guess this is going to be the real finale, is, you know, the sit down with Karen and Andy, which, you know, will be interesting to watch and see how it's framed up, because obviously I figured that there would be a sit down one-on-one with Karen. But the good thing is that Karen is also at the reunion. So she does have her own segment. She's not there the entire time from what I heard, but she is there. And I'm excited. I think the reunion will be a come to Jesus moment for this cast, and specifically certain cast members who do the same bit every season. And I just think people are getting tired. And I know I am. I know a lot of you are. But, you know, it wasn't a great season. That's all I can say. I mean, this was just all over the place, very hodgepodge, no real storylines, and the real storylines that did happen, like with Wendy and Eddie, that obviously happened once cameras went down. So obviously there wasn't any of that in the season. So the reunion will absolutely be interesting, and I do think it will be good. I don't know if, again, I don't know if we need three parts for this reunion, but I feel like we're going to get the three parts because people want their paychecks and they want to stretch it out. And I think if they did do two parts, it would make everyone aware that they know that this season was shitty. So I do feel like they will end up going with a 3-episode package for the reunion, but I don't think it deserves 3 episodes. I think you could really button it all up, including Karen, into 2 parts. Maybe just do them extended. I don't know, but like I just feel like one of those parts is going to be filler because what are you really going to discuss? In other news, I did hear that Ultimate Girls road trip situation is full speed ahead. It was lovely seeing the photos of Nene with all the girls and at the party. I did get some tea that Portia and Vicky Gunvalson are not getting along. That's what I'm hearing. So we'll see what that's all about. I probably could guess what that probably is about, but I will wait for more information on that. I do have boots on the ground giving me the play-by-plays. So we'll see what that's all about. But I'm excited for the Ultimate Girls road trip. I think this is a great way to give us like that all-stars kind of show without making it like all of them on one show all the time. So it's nice that they're going to different cities and all these different housewives are coming. Even Robin was there, which is really wild to me. So Robin will fly out to go do Ultimate Girls road trip to show up at a party, but she won't show up to her co-host's party for their podcast that is local to them. That's, to me, was weird. But anyways, so yes, I'm very excited for that. We also have tomorrow the last part of the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City reunion. So that is coming to a close. And also, I did forget to mention, I should have said this at the top of the episode, but I'll end with this. Last Thursday, I had the privilege and pleasure of being invited by Craft DC and IFA, which is the International Franchise Association, to go watch Angie K testify in front of Congress, where she spoke about legislation regarding franchises and small businesses. And, you know, I know I'll be a little biased here. To see another Greek person who is the child of an immigrant be able to do something like that and have the business model that she's been able to build with her husband, Sean, I was just proud because my dad was also, my parents both were immigrants who came here, and my dad built his business from nothing into something really fantastic, if I can say so myself, you know, and also being across the street from the Capitol, where in the early 70s, my dad's company was contracted to paint the interior of, was a big moment. And so being there across the street, watching a Greek woman testify was just something really special for me. And then also a big shout out to Bar Angie in DC. If you are a local DMV person, please go. I love it there. It's a great space. The owners are fantastic, and they were very hospitable. The cocktail event was perfection. Angie was there, obviously, and so many other people there to support. So all in all, was a really wonderful experience. So big thank you to Craft DC, IFA, and Angie for letting me be a part of something so monumental and special. I think that's where I'm going to leave it for this Monday's episode. I will be in London next week, so you will be seeing me probably from a different location, but don't worry, I have a VPN. Everything's going to come out as scheduled, so I am excited for the London trip. Jeff and I are going, and then we're going to be going to Iceland on the way home for a couple days. So I'm excited to see the Northern Lights and do all those things. But yeah, so if any of you have any suggestions for London or Iceland, please let me know. I think I'll leave it here. And if you're snowed in, stay warm, stay safe. And until the next episode, guys, I will talk to you on the next one. Bye.